Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Big Bold You, a show that we are so excited to bring you every Monday at 3 p.m. Central on the YouTube channel, Jens Johnson, and Facebook, because we want to inspire everyone out there to be bigger. And playing bigger doesn't mean just your actions. First, you have to change the way you think. So you got to think bigger. We want to inspire you to be bolder, which means you are going to have to get out of your comfort zone. And basically, you're going to have to become comfortable being uncomfortable. And I don't care where you are in your journey of life, in your development and your evolution, to go bigger and to do more, you are going to have to be uncomfortable, and it's scary sometimes. But at the end of the day, what we want to help each and every one of you do is become the best version of you. I believe that we live in a world where there is a war between good and evil, and the only way evil wins is when good people don't do enough. So we want to help everyone become the best version of you. Now, every Monday we have an incredible guest, and this week I am so excited to introduce our guest, Miss Deborah Daniels, coming in from Atlanta, Georgia. Deborah, are you there?
I am, Jens. I'm so excited to be here.
Well, we are so excited to have you. Deborah is a CPA. She's the founder and CEO of Charter Accounting, but it is also her birthday today. So, Deborah, I have got a special gift and surprise for you.
What is
that?
Hi,
Deborah. I just want to wish you a happy birthday and sing you a little song. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Deborah. Happy birthday to you.
Yay! We love you, Deborah Daniel. We love you.
And one more thing before I go. I just want to wish Jens Johnson happy anniversary for her 1-year anniversary for the Big Bold You show.
That's right. It's 1 year. So happy birthday, Deborah. We're so excited. So thank you so much, Chrissy, for coming.
Thank you.
Now she's like, okay, I'm out of here.
I'm out of here.
Bye.
Have a great show.
Okay, Deborah, you've got to tell everybody who you are, how you got involved as a CPA, and really just what your passion is, because this woman is incredible.
Thank you, Jens. Well, I don't think I started out on the path of saying, oh, great, I want to be a CPA and count money all the time, but it kind of turned out to be that way. I have always been interested in business, and, when I was growing up in the 70s, it's my birthday today, but, women weren't talking about money. We were playing house. I wanted to play office. So I've always kind of been, I don't know, had a little bit of that male energy going on, even though I think money has a lot of female energy too. And I don't know if we're going to get into that whole woo-woo today, but I started out, all the people ahead of me in my only job that I really ever had, because I've been an entrepreneur for 27 years, but I did work for a company for about 5 years, and everybody above me was a CPA. So I was like, well, hey, I'm pretty good at tests. I'll take the CPA exam. And so when I decided to leave the business world, really because there was no internet back in 1992, when I didn't like the job that I was in, and I didn't want to sit around all day and not do anything. So I said, hey, I'm too embarrassed to call my old boss back and get my job. So I started a business at 27 years old, and I haven't looked back since then. Bought about 3 or 4 small practices in the first few years, and bought a couple maybe in the early 2000s, but I haven't bought any in a while. But pretty much have been doing this for 27 years, have about 1,000 recurring clients, and everything. It started out just being accounting, but now it's really financial planning, it's money, it's budgeting, it's everything money related.
Well, so this is what I love about Deborah. She really does know her stuff. And when I first met Deborah at eWoman Network, it had to be 3 or 4 years ago, she was the managing director there in Atlanta, Georgia. We were at a conference and we started talking, and you are so business savvy and you're serious about your business, and that was one of the things you said is I like making money, and I said I like making money too. I mean, it's important. And one of the things I said when I started to talk to people about this show today, Deborah, is I said, when you think about your money, does it make you smile or does it make you sick? And there are a lot of people out there, and you know who you are, and don't push those feelings down because those feelings are there for a reason. But if you're thinking about your own personal or your business financial situation and you're not smiling, you feel sick about it, it's because you need help. And the title of our show today is really how to increase your financial confidence. So tell us what that is, Deborah.
Well, what I mean when I say financial confidence, it means, just to backtrack just a little bit, of course, I'm all business related. I love everything business. The way I have built my wealth, the way I help clients build their wealth is through owning a business. But I have never in 27 years seen a business be stable, be successful if the personal finances of the owners were not intact. I mean, so we have to step it back to our personal money attitudes and stuff before we can really rocket our business, I think.
I 100% agree, and I think that's a great place to start because you kind of alluded to it at the very beginning when you were talking about how when you were younger you wanted to play office. I want to ask you, were you the one that wanted to have the little cash register? And you're playing with the cash register. You probably had your friends going through the grocery store, and but you wanted to deal with all the money. But at a young age, you obviously had a very positive relationship with money. And I believe 100% that if you don't have a positive personal relationship with money, then the business isn't going to jive. But tell us, give us some ideas or some tips what we can do to get our personal finances in line so we can be successful financially in our businesses as well.
Well, I think it goes back to what you were saying a little bit about your early age a little bit. Part of it, there's statistics that show that, so many of our attitudes, I mean, how they say when you learn a language, if you've heard it, even if you just learn it a little bit when you're before kindergarten, how much stronger your language skills are when you do learn it in high school or college or whatever. That's kind of the same thing with your money a little bit. You formed your attitude about money from things that were said around you before you even understood what money really was. You didn't realize, hey, money is what it takes for me to get groceries, and money is what it takes for us to live in this house. But somebody said something to you like, money doesn't grow on trees. We're not the Rockefellers. That's too expensive. Rich people are bad or whatever. I mean, those kind of things really, really go through our whole life. I mean, not that we can't change those, but we do kind of come into it with a little bit of an attitude, right? A little bit of a
absolutely. Well, that's why that's the book Rich Dad Poor Dad. If and here's some interesting information. So from birth to age 7, in between those 7 years, our brain waves of a child, in the theta waves. So when we're sleeping or when you're meditating, you're in an alpha wave state. When you're awake, like right now, we're in a beta wave state. And in that theta state, it's almost like a hypnotic state. And to your point, everything that we heard, we listened to, we said, we experienced, we watched, we saw from age 0 to 7, it's so deeply enrooted in our minds and our brains that you don't even realize it. And to your point, what you just said, Deborah, is of course you can change that. But I think everybody needs to say, okay, if I'm not smiling about my personal finances, I'm not going to be able to smile about my business. So obviously, that's why you say, let's start by increasing your confidence, increasing your financial confidence. So what are some of the things that people can do within their personal finances that they can increase their confidence?
Well, I would say one of the first things is, and this is a really, really a shame, and we need to do something about it, is you have to get educated about personal finance. Nowhere in our educational system, you know, elementary school, middle school, high school, college, is personal finance taught. I have an MBA in finance. I did not learn about personal finance. I learned about corporate finance. I mean, there was a little bit of, the rule of 72 and compound interest in there, but most people, there's no mechanism. And unfortunately, most of our parents didn't know what to teach us either because they were never taught what the deal is. I mean, to know the concepts of what is good debt versus bad debt, how does the time value of money work, even how do credit cards work? Most high schoolers and college kids don't understand. There's not like a payment fairy out there. Okay, swipe it on your credit card and it's going to go away someday. I mean, just those basic things are not taught. So somehow we have to self-educate or, find someone that can, hold us by the hand and tell us what's going on. I mean, just like in anything, your confidence is going to really increase when you have the knowledge, right? Knowledge is power. And so the first thing would be to really get educated on what are the things that's successful. It's just like anything else. There's no new information out there. Model what successful people are doing.
Right. So number one, you've got to get educated. And the thing that I think that you said, and I actually have a really good friend who's also an eWomen Network member here in Dallas, who she is starting a whole program that is for kids to teach kids about personal finance and specifically about credit and all the information as well. But so I just think that's a big, huge opportunity for people that are in the financial industry. Nobody is teaching people really on a consistent basis about how to improve your personal finances. So number one, to your point, you said, Deborah, is educate yourself. I mean, what would number two be for you?
Number two, I think, is to be more open to talking about money. I mean, part of the reason is, money's like a taboo subject. I mean, people will sit there and talk about sex before they'll talk about money. I mean, it's crazy. I mean, you're sitting around your Thanksgiving table, with your relatives and all this kind of stuff, and you're like afraid to say, what are you investing in? How are you doing your money? I don't know if it's because there's some shame there with maybe because shame that either you have more than the others or you have less than the others, or you don't want people to know what you don't know. But until we open the conversation, how is this going to become a topic that is more mainstream? That's not like a shove it under the table or, oh, it's not nice to talk about money or whatever.
Well, one of the things that I think is really important is people learning how to have their money make money for them. And that's when you were talking about the investments. So, a couple things that I thought of, and anybody that's out there watching, if you have any questions for Deborah, like she said, she's been in the business for 27 years. And I'm telling you, you're a money magnet, in my opinion. I mean, I'm serious. Everything she touches, she turns to gold because she really does understand the basic principles of money and how to have your money make money for you. So if you do have questions here on Facebook, on YouTube, let me know. I'm going to get her those questions so she can answer them. But one of the things you were even talking about with the kids is, I don't know about you, but when I first got a checking account, it was when I was in college. But it was back in the day where you had to go in there and you had to put all the checks, you had to write everything down. You had to go through and you had to reconcile your account. Now, the kids don't do that. I mean, they've got a debit card and they just... I think we're worse off now than we were in the past.
Yeah.
So if step one is educating yourself, step two is let's be more open about talking about money, and don't feel badly if you're talking to somebody else. And here's something I think is so important. Don't take advice from a broke person. All right. If you want financial advice, don't take advice from broke people. Find people that are successful, and don't be embarrassed or ashamed to just say, this is really where I am. I don't know about you, Deborah, and I'm sure you can speak to this, but even when I'm working with somebody as a client, in my field is I always say it doesn't matter where you are right now. It matters where you want to go. So I'm not going to judge you. I don't care where you are right now. I'm just ecstatic that you've made a decision in your life that you're going to take control in this aspect of your life and you're going to grow. So when somebody comes to you, whether it's business or personal, obviously you start with personal because like you said, if they're not successful in personal finances, they're not going to be successful in their business. But what are some of the things that you take your clients through to increase their financial confidence?
Well, having more money gives you more financial confidence. Having cash flow to buy the things that you want gives you confidence. I mean, just it breeds confidence. And so one thing I try to do is, I mean, there's only two ways to increase your cash flow: increase your revenue or decrease your expenses. So, I mean, one of the first things we would do, business or personal, is kind of go through that exercise. It's really, I mean, I don't think you can build personal wealth just by cutting your expenses. I mean, you have to have rent or mortgage, you have to have a car, you have to have certain things. So you can only cut those things the most. But I do like to take people through the exercise of, hey, look at your last 3 months bank statements and credit cards and just see where the money is. Because even if you've gotten tons of money pouring in, if it's leaking out as fast as you can pour it in, you're never going to make any headway, right? So looking at where can you close those leaks is always important, and where you can get more revenue. And that's why I love entrepreneurship, because if I want to buy a new anything, let's say I want something for $1,000, I say, okay, how many things do I need to sell to make that happen? But I can't go, if I work for a company, I can't go to a company and say, oh, my kid needs braces, I need $5,000, can I have an extra job to do? Because it just doesn't work that way. So, I mean, I do think it's easier to build wealth when you have your own, control over where the money comes from, right? So, I mean, working through, understanding that cash flow is king. How much revenue you make, how much income, oh, great, my W-2 is so huge, isn't really that important. It's really how much of that are you keeping? Not just from of course, CPA, you think tax planning or whatever, and that's huge. I mean, you don't want to pay any more taxes than you have to. But then are you in your personal finances? Are you then, whether you have a business or you have a job, are you taking some of that and putting it to the side?
Right.
I mean, are some of that working for you? Because time is not your friend when it comes to planning for the future. You can't wait until you're 55 and say, oh, wow, I'm retiring in 10 years and I don't want to keep doing this that I'm doing, right? So the earlier you start, a little bit of delayed gratification, which, I mean, I'm not saying you can't have everything you want. You just can't have it all when you want it right then, right? And that's hard. That's hard in today's world where everything seems so drive-through, fast, instant messaging, I want it now, so I'm going to take it now, right? The thing is, if you save in the early years, if you delay in the early years, when you get older, when you get 20 years into your business, 25 years into your business, I mean, basically you can do whatever you want to because you've stockpiled. You can't do that if you've just spent everything as you go. And that brings the whole topic of debt. I think having debt by itself is going to hurt your financial confidence. I mean, obviously we all can't pay for our house, but understanding the difference between good debt and bad debt is so, so huge. And we need to explain that to our kids early on. And I'll tell you real quick what I think the difference between good debt and bad debt is. Good debt is something that is going to earn me money down the way. It's, buying a rental property so that I can make income, buying the building where my business is, buying another practice so that I can have more cash flow, even borrowing money for a stock investment. And that's a little riskier because you could lose the money. But I mean, it's not taking a credit card out and buying clothes that you can't afford. It's not paying for a trip that is outside your means. I mean, living inside your means, not having this debt that doesn't help you, it's huge. I mean, I can tell you, I think that's one of the main factors that has been successful for me. I've never, in the 27 years that my husband and I have been married, we don't carry a credit card balance. We use our credit cards like crazy, but they get paid off every month. If we can't pay them, we don't charge it.
But see, the thing is I think you have such an advantage because of your knowledge. And I think, and what you said, you started young. I mean, this is something that you were just drawn to. And I think it's something that, regardless, if you're a parent out there right now, I don't care how old you are, maybe you're not in that place, but you have kids. Now, we've just shared with you the importance of having positive conversations about finances. So as a parent, one of the first things you can do is make sure that all of your communication with your children, regardless how old they are, is positive. Another thing I think is just make the decision today that you are going to get your personal finances in the best shape possible. And some of the things that you were saying, Deborah, and I was thinking of, number one is pay yourself first. I mean, you said that, pay yourself first. How much, what percentage do you think at the very beginning when you get money, you should pay yourself?
Well, are you thinking from the perspective of as a salary for the work that you do in your business, or is the extra investment money?
Saving, investment, like you said. I mean, you got to get into the habit. So give people an idea.
I think 10% is. I think 10% is a minimum you should start with, right? I mean, 10% is not that much. That means you make $100, you save $10. You make $1,000, you save $100. I mean, that's not a huge amount, but it does. Time is your friend. I mean, if you start saving in your 20s, even $25, I mean, it's crazy. That could add up to hundreds of thousands of dollars over the lifetime of your work, right? And so what if every time you got a raise, you automatically took 25% of that and put it to the side?
Right.
I mean, that would be huge.
Well, now, what do you think? How much money should you have saved before you start making investments?
That's a really good question, because the thing is, you've got to have some money that you could get your hands on, and you don't want to tie that up in investments, right? So, the rule of thumb is 3 or 6 months of your pay, not even of your pay, of your expenses, right? So that you're covered. Say you lost your job, you would have 3 or 6 months. There's a lot of controversy. Is that the net or is that the gross? I mean, theoretically, if you weren't working, you wouldn't have the taxes, so maybe the net is fine. But something like that. Half a year's worth of pay, you want to have that so that if the car breaks down or the refrigerator breaks down or whatever, you don't have to jump into those credit cards, because guess what? If you don't have a job and you have to pay you're not going to be able to pay the credit card bill off. So that means that's by default that's going to start adding interest to you, right?
Well, one of the things I just thought about is here's the deal. We can live on so much less than we really think we can. And when you were talking about, when you look at your finances, it's you are increasing the revenue or you're decreasing your expenses. And it's so funny because every time my husband and I will sit down at the table and we have the finance conversation, I always talk about how I can increase my revenue.
Exactly.
And Dave's always talking about, well, we can get rid of this and we can get rid of that. We don't, and it's kind of a joke in our home because he says, Jiz, you can figure out ways how to make so much money and you can figure out ways how to spend so much money, But I was thinking about even a challenge, even if somebody wanted to do a 30-day challenge, look at where you're spending your money. Like you said, Deborah, look at what you spent your money on the last 3 months and then say, okay, I'm going to cut out Starbucks. I'm going to cut out the eating out as much. I'm going to cut out all these things that I have been doing over the last 3 months. And to your point, instead of save it. So do a 30-day challenge. And then I promise you after that 30 days, then do a 60-day and do a 90-day. And if my husband's watching right now, he's going to say, gosh, Jen, that's a great idea. I think you should do it. But you have to, again, to be bolder in your life, you have to be uncomfortable. I mean, that's just all there is to it. You have to be uncomfortable. And what you were saying, Deborah, where you find somebody who is an expert with a proven record, with a referral. So listen, Deborah's amazing. You want to reach out to Deborah? She is legit. We've got a lot of other incredible people that we've had on the show. Jackie Shapiro's amazing. Mary McMahon is amazing. Ruth Fiverette is amazing. We've got some incredible people. But find someone, and if it makes you a little uncomfortable to talk with them about your personal and your business finances, give yourself a pat on the back. Don't, that means that you're doing something that is putting you in a place to play bigger and to be bolder. So I know you also said some things about decreasing your debt. What do you have to say for the people that they are in that place where they are accumulating debt and they're at a place where it is making them sick? I mean, what are some ways that you advise people to get a control of their debt?
Right. Well, first of all, definitely not sticking your head in the sand is the first step, because there are certain people that will just avoid dealing with it. I have clients that bring me their tax return information and they haven't even opened up the envelopes. I mean, they haven't even checked. I have clients that bring me their business stuff. They haven't even looked at their bank statement. That's an avoider,
Right.
and you're going to get in trouble if you avoid it, right? But when you're trying to my advice is don't get into debt. Bad, but okay. But once you're there, you have to obviously come up with a plan, right? And so then you really have to look. There are places out there that will do like credit counseling and stuff like that. That goes to the point of, how important your credit score is. Because if you've got a good credit score and a good payment history, you can go get a 0% interest card to throw some of your credit cards onto. And then all of a sudden you're paying them faster because you're not paying as much interest. But if you don't have a good credit score, that costs you tons. When you go to get a mortgage, it costs you more. When you go to get a car, it costs you more. When you get even your car insurance is impacted by your credit score, because there's a component of the rate that they kind of factor in on that. So, trying to get better spending habits, trying to make sure you're paying things on time, that by itself in a very short time can start making your cost of money cheaper, right? So if you've got to pay for it, at least it's cheaper. But it's funny what you said, though, to your point about, Dave saying, oh, we could save this versus I was like, hey, we could make more money. I totally, totally agree with that. But that's because certain people, we all have a little bit of a predisposition to either be, I think, a spender or a saver, or a person that feels like they have to give people stuff or to get them to value them and stuff like that. So there's a lot of psychology with the money too. It's not just dollars and cents. It's not just logic. It's, like I feel like some people do shopping to make themselves feel better. They buy stuff that they don't even really need because it's kind of a psychological thing. So, you have to really, it's not just dollars and cents. There's some real mind work that needs to go on there, which I've heard you say before, that 95% of our success is in our mind, not in the tools and the tips and stuff that we do. We know how to do our business, but we have to have the right mindset. And I think that's totally true for money as well.
Oh, 100%, that our whole life, the success, our failures, our pain, our purpose, everything it's how we think. It's 100% how we think. And one of the points that's coming into my head so strongly is the importance that if you're not in control of your money, you have to be working with someone. You got to have a workout partner. And what I love about you, Deborah, is yes, you're a CPA, so you have so much knowledge, but you also, you're basically a money coach. In my mind, I don't know what your title is, what you do, because there's so many different things that you do, but you're like a money coach. And maybe your quote unquote money coach is your spouse, to your point where you said, if you are married, you might have one of you that's a saver, one of you that's a spender. You might be in a relationship where you're both just, wackadoodles. When it comes to your finances. You might be single, whatever the situation is, but if you don't have someone that is grounded and has a good money mindset and knows how to take control and help, you're at a disadvantage. So you've got to find somebody, I think. What do you think, Deborah, that's like a money coach, or somebody that's going to hold you accountable, or that's going to hold your hands? Because I am going to tell you again, the way my brain works is I'm like, okay, the first thing I want to tell everybody to do after this show is to sit down and write down some of the tips and nuggets that you're hearing today that you're going to implement, whatever that is. and then just do them. But another thing I'm thinking about is go through your whole entire house, have a garage sale, or put things up on the internet and sell it and get some money, because that's how my brain works. How can I make more money? How can I make more money? But I mean, what are your thoughts on this?
Oh, totally. I mean, something as simple as like if you go to a health coach, what is one of the first things they tell you to do? Write down everything that you ate for the last 2 weeks, and then we'll highlight different things. I was just telling my husband that the other day. I mean, I'm like, I really don't think we spend as much as you think, because I'm kind of having those same conversations that you're having with Dave. But I was like, let's just write down everything, and then you're highlighting entertainment. You're highlighting, in a different color, different things. It will. I'm a visual person. I like things to be visual. Like my main gig is I am a CPA and I do a lot of stuff, but I will tell you, my team does a lot of the bookkeeping, taxes, those kind of things. I'm more strategy with my clients. And so I feel like after 27 years, morphed into, okay, I can do more than the transactions. My team can do that. What do all these transactions really mean? So I do spend a lot of my time like coaching people, but, I gave myself a game, and I don't know if you do this, Jens, in your business, and I think it's just something that all successful people do. I wanted to have 100 new tax returns this year. So I printed out a thing with 100 circles on it, and every time I actually printed out the return of a new client and billed them, I wrote their name down and how I got them. If it was a referral, if it was this, which marketing strategy was working. And so now not only do I have the record of 73 new ones, and I still have a lot of year to go before 100, I also have color coded, where they came from. So I'm like, what's working, what's not working? Just like in your business, just like in when you're trying to lose weight, and with your money, you've got to track this stuff. You've got to look at it. You need to have a money date, pretty frequently, to just kind of, check in what's going on.
I love that idea, and I'm writing it down, because here is the long and short of it. What you track, what you focus on grows. And if you want to have success in any area of your life, like you said, you want to have success in your health, you got to track it. You want to have success in your money, you got to track it. And what you did, which I think is genius, and I love that idea, and I am going to use it, is that you came up with a system. You have to have a system that you're doing, that you follow, that you track, that holds you accountable, that you continue to do over and over and over. And you can come up with your own system. Or if you need help, you can sit down with someone and they can help you come up with a system. But you have to have a system that you're doing, that you're tracking, and that holds you accountable. And I love that. And I will tell you, for myself personally, and I don't know about everybody else, but when just even QuickBooks, if you are an entrepreneur, or if you use QuickBooks for yourself personally, or a business, or whatever it is, for me, when you go in, like you were saying, and you see with your eyes, it will stop me from making a purchase, because I know I'm going to have to code it. and I mean, honestly, just that one thing. So again, you have to be aware. I mean, you've got to be aware. And I think it's hysterical that there are people that you said will come to you, and because they are putting their head in the sand. And that's exactly, if you know that about yourself, if you know that you're the type of person that if there is an issue, there's a problem, things that you just don't do well, and listen, give yourself a break. You're not going to do everything well. Don't be afraid to ask for help. So for you, Deborah, when you find those people that come to you and they haven't even opened up their tax paperwork, I mean, what's the first thing? I mean, obviously, immediately this is an ostrich, because they've got their head in the sand. But for those type of people that are watching right now, I mean, what's some encouragement and some things that you can tell them, to just get their head out of the sand?
Oh, well, I mean, the first thing I would say, and when I tell people, because I do have clients that come in 45, 55, 65, obviously we can help them. I mean, because I am helping a lot with financial planning now. I always say, the best day to start doing a lot of this stuff is, when you first got out of college in 27 and 25, 23, whatever, to start doing it. But the next best day is today, right? It's never too late to change your habits, right? It's I think people get themselves in a little bit of a tizzy that I've messed up and I can't change it. What's going to be different. I think every day we have an opportunity to change what we're doing, right?
Right.
And I think, it's like the first step to any transformation is admitting that you either need the transformation and or that you want the transformation, right? Because I do think it's not a matter of I don't have my clients I don't call it budget. I call it money plan. Because I feel like budget feels like diet to me.
Right.
Healthy eating feels like money plan. I mean, it's like I'm making a positive, impact, not restrictive. You want to come from that place of abundance, not that place of scarcity, right?
Right.
So you can have everything, you just can't have it all at one time, right?
it,
And
right.
I think that's the biggest thing.
And I do think so much of it is your attitude. And one of the things that we do every month on the Big Bold You show is I always am talking about the book that I'm reading. I facilitate a mastermind. I'm all about transformational work because I do believe that you can create the life of your dreams. And I love what you just said, Deborah. Of course, it's always better to start early in life for any good habit. But I love what you said when you said, but the second best day is today. So the second best day is today to get in control of your finances. The second best day to start to get control of your whole life is today. But you do have to change the way you think first. And I love reading. And one of the things that I do all the time is I'm reading because I always want to be improving and I want to be changing my perspective on things. And the book that we're reading for June and July is going to be The Seat of the Soul by Gary Zukov, and it's amazing. And a little nugget from that today that I think goes along with what we're talking about, Deborah, is when we close the door to our feelings, we close the door to the vital currents that energize and activate our thoughts and actions. And that to me is exactly what we're talking about. When you put your head in the sand, you're closing your door on your feelings, whether it's money, whether it's your relationships, whether how you're feeling about yourself. The message is don't close your door to your feelings. And Deborah, I can't thank you enough for being on the show today. It just went by so quickly, but I want everybody, Jason, you got to show Deborah's landing page. She's got some great information. I think she's got even a free offer on one of her pages. And this actually, what we're looking at right here is moneyreimagine.com. Deborah, do you have anything that you want to talk about with this before we say goodbye?
Well, this is a great way to get connected with me. I do have a free guide that talks about some of these financial the things you need to put in place, and it will be the place if you're get into my community. I do have a I don't want to announce it yet, but I do have a book. I don't want to tell everybody about it, but I have a book that's going to be coming out pretty soon that's about a lot of this stuff.
I love it. And then let's look at her website. You got it up there. Jason's so awesome. We started, here we go. And your website, for anybody that wants more information on your other services, is charteraccounting.com. So I can't thank you enough, Deborah. You're amazing. The minute I met Deborah, we were actually at a party, and this band was playing, and she is just as much fun. She is so high energy, and we just immediately our energy attracted to one another. And she's really inspired me in so many different ways. We've done some work together, and we actually, I think it was last week, talked about doing a retreat together on money and mindset and how we can help more people take control of their lives. So, stay tuned for that, because you're going to see this dynamic duo again many, many times. So, Deborah, happy birthday. Thank you so much. Anything else you'd like to share before we go?
No, I mean, this is awesome. I mean, I want everybody to watch your show. I've been watching a bunch of it along the time. No, I'm just glad to connect with. I mean, I just think birds of a feather flock together. So of course I would want to be on your show and talk to your people about this topic. And we're so on the same page with the whole mindset thing that I've just loved it. And anytime you want me to be on your show, let me know. I've got plenty more I can talk about.
Well, wonderful. And I do want to say that we will get a graphic and I will put it on this show and tag it. And I'm also going to be talking about it a lot. But June the 22nd, we are going to have a money event here in the Dallas area where we've got some money experts because, listen, if you don't have your personal finances in order, you just really you've got your hands tied behind your back, and we don't want your hands tied behind your back. We want you living and creating the life that you want to live. So until we meet again next Monday, 3 p.m. Central on YouTube, Jens Johnson, please subscribe and get your friends to subscribe. Share this if there was anything of value to you. And we will see you next week, 3 p.m. Central. Until then, be big, be bold, and most importantly, be you. Bye-bye.